The pandemic has impacted many people in different ways, and women have been some of the hardest hit during this time. A new study is showing that women are increasingly turning to alcohol during this stressful time, even more so than men. It's historically a symptom of catastrophes, whether man-made or natural. People turning to alcohol and other substances to cope, de-stress, or deal with anxiety. Dr. J. Craig Allen with Hartford Healthcare says the difference with the pandemic is how long it's gone on.
It's when you start to use it almost exclusively to try and manage these difficult emotions and situations that it can be problematic.
A Rand Corporation study conducted during the pandemic showed a big increase in drinking among men and women, but there was a 40% increase in heavy drinking by women, which was double the increase seen in men.
The question is, why might that be? I mean, one reason to start with is women are more likely to drink when they're experiencing negative emotional feelings, so negative states, more likely than men. But also, there's a number of other reasons. Women are more likely to have lost their job during the pandemic, so that increases stress. They're more likely to have been designated an essential worker, so forced to work. If the kids are at home, women are more often the ones that are taking care of the kids, managing that homeschooling.
Dr. Allen says drinking to de-stress has also become socially acceptable, with social media pushing slogans like mommy juice or Zoom cocktail hours. But he says we're seeing a lot of physical and psychological problems associated with the drinking. So it's important for women to look at the reasons why they are turning to alcohol.
Be conscious of how much you're drinking. Try to stick to the recommended safe amounts. And for women, 7 drinks a week is thought to be safe, and no more than 3 in a single sitting. If you're using more than that, then think about cutting back and some strategies to decrease your use. And if you need help with that, talk to your doctor about it.
If you or someone you know is having a problem with alcohol, Hartford Healthcare says it does have a range of services available. We posted information on our website, fox61.com.